Oh, absolutely, it's a dialogue, and it's really an important part of making work. It's such a luxury to have someone who gets you and you get them, and although you may differ on things, I mean, we don't have a manifesto, you know, but so we differ on things, but I think the goal of both of our works is much similar, even though the work turns out to look different. You know, I think we're trying to get down to just kind of a dumb knowing, and you know, we can't be uninformed, but yet we try to get it out of the way, you know, to kind of get the information out. Yeah, to learn, and you know, so it's just, I guess the way I can sum it up is it's just a luxury to have someone, and oddly it's of, you know, 2 generations different than me. But you know, it just, a lot of people don't have dialogue. It's, you know, painting is a very solitary endeavor. And the thought of us both working in the same studio just blows that solitariness up. But it's so nice to have someone whose eyes you trust look at your work, and maybe make some comments. We don't have to say a lot.
Often in process, you know, from New York, I'll take a picture of what I'm working on. If there's kind of something going on that maybe almost feels finished but not quite, and you know, Otis is the only person I'm really going to defer to on, you know, what does this need? Does this need something? Does this need less? Does this need more?
And the same goes for me.
Right. It's a constant back and forth. You know, I'll come to the studio and generally I'll see something that Otis maybe thinks isn't where it should be, and I love it, or you know, or something that I think is unfinished, and Otis was feeling like great about it, and I'll be like, yeah, I don't know, but we'll.
So we just bounce off each other.
Yeah, we definitely do at times help each other make some decisions.
Yeah.
But it's not a collaboration. It's the kind of like a, yeah, it's like you know, it's like let me call my accountant, you know, like.
Well, you know, I think it is a very complex relationship, but it seems to work really well. And it started from just being assistant to getting to know each other, and we just clicked.
But it was also before that, again, I mean, I fell in love with Otis's work when I saw it for the first time. So I wasn't just a kid who could stretch canvas, you know, I mean, I was his biggest fan. So it went from that to assistant, to mentor, to then mutual mentorship, and being best friends.
I get as much out of Bret as I give, you know. I mean, so it's a really nice symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, we cherish it. We constantly tell each other how thankful we are for each other.
Because a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah, a lot, and really, to be honest, in my mind, I can't think of any other artists today that have this kind of dialogue, or that would want to have this kind of dialogue. I mean, it happened in Otis's case kind of out of necessity. He needed somebody. He was in bad health. He had COPD. He was on an oxygen machine. You know, he couldn't physically do the work, and so he recruited his fan and a grad student that from you know, he wasn't teaching or anything, but he knew I was a grad student, and you know, he recruited me to be his assistant. And
well, you asked if you could do anything for me.
No, I didn't, and he would. I don't think Otis would have necessarily opened up to this kind of a dialogue if he didn't need that, but He did, and that's what happened. And here's where we are. And this,
Well, we
in
just
my,
became instantly.
yeah. I mean,
instantly
in my
connected.
opinion, this. I mean, of course, it's me speaking, so I have a bias, but I think this is an incredibly sentimental and relationship, and I think it's an incredibly important dialogue in painting today, globally. And I think that's being recognized somewhat, and I think it needs to be recognized more somewhat, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, and I think overall the only thing that's missing for me is a headband and some tattoos. Well, I love Bret's work.
Yeah, I've got that.
Nearly all of it, and
I got it. Just like it's a meant to be kind of thing. I mean, there's nothing about any. Every particular piece has something important about it to
Right.
us. So, almost have everything to say about the show in the world, and also nothing to say about the show. It's just it's a great show.
But I love Bret's work, and I think it, like I said before, I think the differences and the similarities should be interesting to people that have known that we were close in dialogue, and Bret being my assistant and that kind of thing. People think, oh, it's just the same. He's just making the same things.
And a lot of those people are only looking at the work online.
Yeah, and it's just not the same.
That's why it's so nice to see it together in the space, and it's really inhabits the space and turns it into our place, our work's place. It feels so right in here. It's sparse. Things are hung low. I mean, this is everything's in its element. Well, scale, but I mean, also look at the treatment of things. Look at the physicality of things. Look at it's scale, but it's just also painting is something that will never be able to be understood via reproduction, and that's part of its enigma, and that makes it so important to interact with and physically experience and encounter.
Yeah, someone asked me at an opening, his wife wanted to buy a big kind of A-circle shape that was red oxide, and he just wasn't having it. So and I knew them a little bit, so he came over and he put his arm around me and he says, "What makes that special?" And I said, "Not a damn thing." And he said, "You mean I could go get the materials and make one in my garage?" And I said, "You betcha. I'll help you." I said, and you'll see how difficult it is. But if you don't see something special, then there's nothing special for you there, because he just wasn't trying to enter the work. And his wife was much more attuned to and sensitive to that kind of thing. So it's kind of odd, what's special about this? Well, if you don't see it, it's not there for you.
I mean, again, before I knew Otis personally, he was my favorite painter, so I'm extremely influenced by the work of Otis Jones, Again, though, I did, as I said earlier, as for the past year and a half, I'm not considering, as for the past really 3 years, and due to Otis's advice and wise advice, is I'm not looking at Otis's work to make my work. I mean, those influences happened before we really got to working together, and up to the point that we did start working together. You're just gonna have to have some of the footage with his phone ringing, because some of the best shit I've said has happened when that happens.
It's okay.
Same thing with him too. Some of the best shit he said has happened when his phone
It's all
ringing.
right.
That's how it's gonna be. But so as of very early in my assistantship to Otis, and when my work started to get recognition, to sell, I got a gallery in Brussels. it becomes a little bit adversarial, and Otis is like, you know, I showed him a little sketch I was going to make of a painting that was very similar to something Otis had made, and he was like, dude, you got to find your own voice, man, because this is coming too close, and we're becoming very close as friends, and you've got to figure out your own way to paint, you know. And of course, he knows that I had already done that in many ways, but again, as a student, you're influenced constantly. Yeah. And it was like, you got to find a way to kind of turn that receptivity off and look within. And so I'd say really for the past 3 years, again, even though Otis is one of my major inspirers as a painter, I'm not like looking at each piece or even, you know, I'm stretching his canvases for him, but I'm not looking at what he did there and saying, oh, I really want to use this, or I like this. You know,
I think
the work has become, you know,
I think the endeavor,
separate. The endeavor's become.
The endeavor and the work are somewhat, you know, they speak to each other, but they're not exactly. I mean, it's a funny kind of influence. It's something that we understand, but I think Bret is, as we go along and as he's gone along, has found more of his voice, and it's still in the same realm of what we both think painting should be.
Right.
But he's kind of, you know, branched out some. So that's great.
Fantastic, guys. Yeah, we do have some really good footage with you guys
Good.
on here. But I want to leave it open for you guys if there's anything you guys want to say to each other on camera. Take the time, take a moment. While we're here.
For more information on Otis, go to otisjones.net. For more information on Bret, go to bretslater.com. For more information on the exhibition, go to hollyjohnsongallery.com. That's it for Art This Week. Thanks for watching.
I still got your Polaroid